Welcome to Unveiled Confessions, where the most raw and shocking confessions are revealed. I'm pushing for 1,000 subscribers, and your support makes all the difference. Hit that subscribe button and be part of the journey. You won't want to miss what's coming next.
I thought it was just luck when I matched with him. Like one of those rare Tinder moments where you swipe and instantly feel like it's not just some guy with blurry bathroom selfies. His profile actually looked normal, clean, but also weirdly specific. The first picture was him holding a book I loved when I was like 15, a book no one I've ever dated even heard of. His bio had a single line that instantly pulled me in: coffee over energy drinks, always. That's literally something I say all the time. It was kind of funny, almost like he stole it from me, but I figured maybe it was just coincidence. We matched late at night and started talking right away. It was too easy. He typed the same way I do, short sentences, lots of dots, the same casual tone. I told myself it was refreshing. Usually guys either come across like robots or they're all creepy compliments right away. But this guy? He felt familiar. Like talking to someone who already knew my rhythm. We agreed to meet at a little cafe tucked between a laundromat and a vape shop. It wasn't fancy, but it was quiet and didn't feel like a setup spot. He was already sitting when I walked in, like he got there early just to make sure I wouldn't feel awkward. I spotted him instantly because he waved, and I noticed something that made me laugh under my breath. He was wearing the exact same band tee I had in my closet from a tour that happened years ago. It wasn't a big band. Honestly, barely anyone went to that tour, and the shirt was thrifted. But he had it. And it looked like it still fit perfectly. When we started talking, it was almost creepy how similar we sounded. He ordered the same drink I always get, down to the syrup flavor. He started talking about shows he grew up watching, and they were all the same niche ones I used to binge on burned DVDs. He even mentioned this obscure foreign movie I was obsessed with as a teenager. I blinked at him and laughed because I literally thought I was the only person alive who remembered it. He just smiled like that was the reaction he expected. At first, it felt like I hit the jackpot. Like the algorithm actually got it right for once. But halfway through, my stomach started to turn. Because he wasn't just vibing with me. He was repeating me. It started small. He mentioned a cafe that closed down in my hometown years ago. A random little corner spot that didn't even have a sign outside. I stared at him because I knew I never posted about that place. I never even told anyone outside my closest friends that I used to go there. He brushed it off like he'd just heard about it somewhere. But it wasn't just that. He mentioned my old hamster's name. A hamster I had in middle school. I never put it on Instagram, never wrote about it. The only thing I ever did was post a blurry picture on a private Tumblr when I was like 13. That's when it clicked. He wasn't my perfect match. He was a mirror. The more I thought about it, the more I realized everything about him was built from me. The playlist he shared on Spotify matched mine song for song, even the embarrassing ones I kept hidden on private lists. His stories about childhood? I swear they were just slightly reworded versions of things I'd said online years ago. He laughed in the same places I would have laughed, made faces that matched mine, almost like he'd studied me long enough to perform it. My skin got hot and suddenly it wasn't fun anymore. It was like sitting across from a version of myself I didn't remember creating. I excused myself to the bathroom, locked the door, and scrolled through his Instagram again. Every post felt like bait. His captions were all inside jokes I'd made before on random platforms. His pictures showed books I'd mentioned years ago on Goodreads. There was even one photo of him at a theme park I used to go to, standing in front of the exact same ride I'd once posted about. Same angle, same spot. When I walked back out, he was watching me too closely. Not like a normal date. Not even like a guy who liked me. It was deeper. Like he was waiting for me to realize it. His eyes followed every movement I made, and he smirked like he'd already won something. I barely touched my drink after that. I forced small talk, tried to act normal, but inside I was panicking. Every detail lined up too perfectly, and the worst part was how calm he was about it. Like this wasn't weird to him. Like building himself into me was the plan all along. I cut the date short. Told him I had work early. He just nodded like he already knew what excuse I'd use. I felt sick leaving him there. The whole walk home, my phone buzzed with notifications, Spotify friend requests, follows on random old accounts I forgot I had, even a Goodreads friend request. He wasn't hiding anymore. That night, I tore through all my old socials. Accounts I hadn't touched in years. He was on them. Liking old posts, following lists, even joining groups I'd once been part of. It was like peeling layers of my life back and finding him standing there in every single one. I deleted Tinder immediately. I blocked him on everything I could find. But sometimes I'll be scrolling late at night and see a random comment under some post from years ago, and it's him. Always him. Same jokes. Same tone. Still mirroring me. The creepiest part? Every once in a while, I'll find myself saying something, making a joke, or referencing something from years back, and I can't tell if it's me remembering it first, or if I'm just repeating him now. Because after that date, I can't tell which one of us came first. The match felt almost unreal. Her profile looked like something you'd see on the Explore page, not on Tinder. Every picture was bright, high quality, perfect angles, but not overly filtered. She looked like the type of girl I wouldn't usually have a chance with. So when I swiped and it said, "It's a match," I just stared at my phone like maybe it was broken. She messaged first. That never happens. Not just a basic hey either. She asked what I was doing that night. I told her nothing, just hanging around. She said I should come over. No build-up, no small talk, just straight to it. At first I thought it was a joke or maybe a bot, but she sent me an address and it was only like 15 minutes from my place. Everything in my head was telling me it was too good to be true. But I didn't want to overthink it. I figured maybe she was just impulsive. I convinced myself it was worth the risk. The building was this old apartment complex that looked like it had been standing there since the 70s. The kind with stained bricks, metal balconies, and a buzzing light over the entrance. The hallway smelled damp, like bleach mixed with something sour. I found the door number she gave me and right away something was off. The door was cracked open just enough that I didn't need to knock. I hesitated, checked my phone to make sure I had the right place, and I did. I tapped the door with my knuckle anyway, but no answer. The music playing inside was low, some generic pop song with a heavy bass. I pushed the door slowly, and it swung open like it had been waiting for me. The apartment was dim, like only one lamp was on in the corner. The first thing I noticed was how empty it looked. A couch against the wall, a coffee table with nothing on it, and curtains pulled tight over the windows. I called out, but my voice sounded too loud, bouncing off the walls. No response. I stepped inside, closed the door halfway, and tried again. Nothing. I figured maybe she was in another room. The kitchen light was off, but there was an open water bottle on the counter. The air smelled faintly like cheap perfume, the kind you'd get at a pharmacy. I checked my phone again. No new messages. I typed out a quick, "I'm here," and hit send, but the little "delivered" never popped up. Something about the whole vibe made me want to leave, but curiosity kept me moving. I walked toward the hallway. The carpet under my shoes was rough, almost crunchy, like it hadn't been cleaned in years. I reached the bedroom door and pushed it open. The room was dark, sheets bunched up on the bed like someone left in a hurry. That's when I heard it. The sound of the front door slamming. Art. My chest tightened instantly. I froze in the doorway of the bedroom, listening. The music was still playing, same steady beat, but now it felt louder, heavier. I heard footsteps, slow and heavy, not just one pair. My mouth went dry. I turned back toward the living room, and that's when they came out. 3 guys. Not kids either, grown men, broad shoulders, all dressed in dark hoodies. They didn't rush me or yell. They just stepped out of the shadows like they'd been there the whole time, waiting. I locked eyes with the one in the middle. He didn't blink. He just tilted his head slightly like he was sizing me up. None of them said a word. The silence made it worse than if they had shouted. Every instinct in me screamed to run, but the door was behind them. The only way out was past all 3. My legs felt heavy, but I backed up into the bedroom, scanning for another exit. The window was covered with blinds, and when I yanked them open, I realized we were on the 3rd floor. No way down without breaking something. The guys didn't chase me. They just stood there in the doorway, blocking the exit, calm as ever. Like they knew they had all the time in the world. I could hear one of them breathing hard, like he was enjoying the tension. I kept my eyes on them while I grabbed the closest thing I could find, a lamp off the nightstand. My hands were shaking so bad I nearly dropped it. I gripped it tight anyway, holding it like some pathetic weapon. For a few seconds, none of us moved. The music filled the space and the bass rattled in my chest. Then the guy in the middle finally stepped forward, slow and deliberate. I didn't wait to see what he was planning. I swung the lamp as hard as I could, and it cracked against the door frame. The bulb shattered, sparks fizzled out, and in that split second of chaos, I shoved past him. My shoulder slammed into his chest, and I felt his hand graze my arm as he tried to grab me, but I tore myself free. I sprinted down the hallway, past the couch, and yanked the door open. The hallway outside was empty, dead silent except for my footsteps pounding down the stairs. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I didn't stop until I was outside, gasping for air under the buzzing light of the entrance. I checked my phone again, but the Tinder match was gone. Like she never existed. The chat, the profile, everything, deleted. The worst part was how quiet they'd been. Not a single word, not a single sound except their footsteps and breathing. Like this wasn't the first time they'd done it. Like it was some routine. I never told anyone the address. I never went back to that side of town. But sometimes, when I hear low music coming from an apartment as I walk past, I can feel my chest tighten the same way. And I know if I had hesitated 1 second longer, I wouldn't have made it out of that room. I thought I was being smart about it. I'd matched with him earlier that week, and unlike most of the guys on there, he actually sounded normal. Not too try-hard, not too dry. He cracked jokes that didn't feel stolen from Twitter, and he asked questions that weren't generic. He wasn't pushy either, just suggested we hang out sometime soon. When we finally agreed to meet, he offered to pick me up. Normally that would have been a no from me, but he seemed trustworthy. His pictures all matched, his voice notes sounded genuine, and he even suggested I could bring a friend if I felt weird. I didn't take him up on it, but the fact that he said it made him feel safe enough. The night he pulled up, I actually felt lucky. His car was clean, a nice dark sedan, and he had flowers sitting on the passenger seat. He got out to open the door for me and handed them over like it was the most casual thing in the world. I don't usually get nervous around guys, but I'll admit that made me blush a little. It felt old-fashioned in a good way. Inside the car, everything smelled faintly like air freshener. The dashboard glowed soft blue, and his playlist was mellow, not blasting like he was trying too hard to impress me. He was funny, easy to talk to, and he never once made me feel cornered. I relaxed quickly, maybe too quickly. About 15 minutes into the ride, I pulled out my phone to share my live location with my friend, just a precaution. I always did that, whether the guy was chill or not. While typing, I noticed his eyes flick down to my screen, then back to the road. His smile faded, just slightly, but enough that my stomach tensed. Without warning, he took a sharp turn off the main road. I thought maybe it was a shortcut, but the streetlights disappeared behind us. The car rolled into this narrow alley that looked like it led nowhere. The buildings on either side were tall and blank, no windows glowing, no people around. He stopped the car in the middle of it and just sat there, engine idling. My heart hammered. Then he turned toward me and his hand shot out, not in a playful way but firm. He demanded I hand over my phone. The flowers on my lap suddenly felt like a joke. My fingers tightened around them as if they could somehow protect me. I glanced toward the back seat, maybe out of panic, maybe because I needed something to distract me from his stare. That's when I saw them. A roll of duct tape. A handful of plastic zip ties, loosely piled on the seat. Every nerve in my body screamed at me, but I stayed frozen for a second too long. He leaned closer, hands still out, eyes cold now, no trace of the polite guy who'd opened the door for me 20 minutes ago. I knew I couldn't give him my phone. That was the only thing tethering me to safety. My thumb hovered over the screen, pretending like I was going to comply, but instead I hit the side button and spammed the emergency shortcut, hoping it would at least start dialing. The noise of the emergency alert cut through the car, sharp and mechanical. His eyes widened, and for the first time he looked rattled. He lunged across the console, reaching for me, but I already had the door handle in my grip. I shoved it open and spilled onto the pavement, scraping my knee as I landed. I ran. Flowers still clutched in one hand, phone in the other, sprinting down the alley toward the faint glow of a streetlight at the far end. Behind me, his car revved, tires screeching against the concrete. My chest burned, lungs screaming, but I pushed harder, every step feeling like it wasn't fast enough. I reached the street just as a pair of headlights appeared from the opposite direction. Another car. I waved frantically, stumbling into the road, forcing it to slow down. The driver honked, probably cursing me out, but the moment they saw my face they realized something was wrong. The sedan stopped at the mouth of the alley for a second, engine growling, before it suddenly backed out fast, disappearing into the night. Gone like it never happened. I collapsed against the hood of the stranger's car, still clutching the flowers like some twisted trophy. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped them, but I couldn't let go. The petals were bent, stems snapped, but I gripped them anyway like they'd remind me this was real. The cops came later. I gave them the address he'd used on Tinder, but his profile was gone by then. Deleted, wiped clean like he'd never existed. They asked if I'd noticed anything strange before getting in the car, and I wanted to scream at myself for saying no. For thinking flowers meant safety. I never saw him again, but for weeks, every time I got into an Uber or walked past a parked sedan, my eyes would drift to the back seat. Looking for tape. Looking for ties. wondering how many people before me didn't notice them until it was too late. And the worst part? The flowers are still in a vase on my desk. Wilted dry, but I can't throw them out. They're the only proof I didn't imagine that night. The first time I saw her profile, I thought there was no way she'd even swipe on me. She looked like she belonged on a travel magazine cover, hiking cliffs, scuba diving, posing at the top of mountains. Every photo had that effortless vibe, like she wasn't even trying. When we matched, I actually refreshed the app to make sure it wasn't some glitch. From the start, she was easy to talk to. She replied fast, joked around, even double-texted sometimes. She had this way of making me feel like I was the only person she wanted to talk to. We met up 2 days later, and she looked even better in person. Confident, loud laugh, not glued to her phone the way most people are. For 3 weeks we went on constant dates. Dinner, late-night drives, gym sessions, she was always down to do something. She loved taking pictures of random stuff, not even selfies, just little moments like my shoes on the curb or my coffee cup sitting on the counter. I thought it was quirky, artsy. I brushed it off. Then I noticed she started showing up near places I went. At first, I thought it was coincidence. I'd finish a shift at work, walk outside, and she'd be standing by her car across the street, waving. She'd laugh and say she was just in the neighborhood. Another time, I left the gym sweaty and tired, and there she was at the smoothie shop next door, pretending she just happened to be craving one too. I told myself it was flattering. It felt good to be wanted, to have someone put in that much effort. My friends teased me, said I'd finally found a girl who liked me more than I liked her. But little things kept stacking up. She knew what time I started shifts even though I never told her my exact schedule. She showed up at the gas station while I was filling up, claiming she was just passing through, even though she lived in the opposite direction. I ignored the uneasy feeling in my gut because I didn't want to mess up what looked like the best relationship I'd had in a while. The breaking point came on a Sunday afternoon. I was sitting at home, half asleep on the couch, when my phone buzzed. A notification from Snapchat. I opened it and froze. It was her private story. Picture of me. I was asleep in my own bed, lying on my side, blanket half off. The angle was from the corner of the room, like someone standing near my dresser had taken it. My curtains were drawn, the lighting faint, but it was undeniably my room. My room. My heart hammered so hard I dropped the phone onto the floor. I scrambled to pick it back up, thinking maybe it was some kind of edit or a joke. But no. The caption was just a heart emoji, and there were more pictures if I swiped. Another shot, me curled under the blanket, my mouth slightly open. Another one, zoomed in on my hand hanging off the edge of the bed. I didn't remember her ever being in my apartment at night without me knowing. I never gave her a key, never left the door unlocked. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I scrolled through, feeling my skin crawl until I saw the last one. It wasn't a picture. It was a short video clip. Me dead asleep, chest rising and falling. The camera zoomed in slowly, shaky, like whoever was filming couldn't stop their hands from trembling. I threw the phone across the couch. My chest felt tight, like the walls were closing in. The thought that she'd been standing in my bedroom while I was unconscious made me feel sick. I didn't text her right away. I couldn't. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Instead, I checked my front door, the windows, every lock in the apartment. All of them were closed, secure. No sign of forced entry. When I finally grabbed my phone again, her private story was gone. Deleted. Vanished like it never existed. But I knew what I'd seen. That night I barely slept. Every noise outside my window made me jolt awake. I kept staring at the shadows in my room, wondering if she was out there watching. The next day, she texted like nothing had happened. Casual, cheerful, asking what I wanted to do later. I stared at the screen, sick to my stomach. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The messages kept coming for days. Long paragraphs, voice notes, even random selfies with her dog. I muted the notifications but didn't block her right away. I wanted proof in case I needed it. But the weirdest part? She never brought up the private story. Not once. She acted like it hadn't happened, like I hadn't just seen evidence of her standing over me in my own bedroom. I finally blocked her after a week. Deleted Tinder, wiped my socials, did everything I could to cut her out. But sometimes when I wake up in the middle of the night, I can't shake the feeling that someone's in the room with me. Standing in the corner, camera in hand, waiting for me to drift back to sleep. And every time I close my eyes, I see that last video. The shaky zoom. My chest rising and falling. Her breathing faintly picked up by the mic. I thought it was going to be a regular night out. Nothing crazy, just a couple of drinks with a guy I matched with earlier that week. His profile didn't scream super exciting or anything, just a few pictures of him hiking, one with his dog, and a bio that was short enough to not sound forced. He came across as shy in our chats, kind of reserved, which honestly made me feel safer. We picked a quiet bar, one I liked because it never got too loud. When he walked in, he looked almost exactly like his photos, just a little taller than I expected. His smile was small but genuine, and he seemed nervous, fiddling with his sleeve as he said hi. The first half hour was fine. Normal. We talked about work, how we both hated commuting, little things like favorite foods and the best late-night spots in the city. He laughed at my jokes, asked decent questions, didn't overshare. Honestly, I was relieved. It didn't feel like one of those awkward forced dates where you're both checking your phone under the table. Speaking of his phone, that's where everything changed. He set it down on the table at one point, screen facing up. Just casual, like people do when they're expecting a notification. But as he reached for his glass, the lock screen lit up. A photo. At first, my brain didn't even process it. It was just a snapshot, a candid-looking one of him standing with a woman. But my stomach dropped because I knew that woman. I'd seen that exact photo framed on a dresser. It was my best friend's husband. My throat went dry. I stared at the picture like I couldn't be seeing it right. Same hair, same jacket, same smile I'd seen at barbecues and birthdays. He wasn't just some random married guy either, he was family to us. He was supposed to be at home with her, not sitting across from me under a fake name. I must have gone pale because he noticed me freeze. He tilted his head, confused, and reached for his phone quickly, flipping it over so the photo disappeared. He tried to keep talking, pretending nothing happened, but I couldn't hear a word. My mind was racing, piecing together everything. The shy act. The careful answers. The fake name he'd given me on Tinder. It all made sense now. He was running multiple lives at once, and I had just stumbled into one of them. I excused myself to the bathroom, locked the stall, and sat there gripping my phone like it was the only thing holding me together. My hands shook as I pulled up my messages with my best friend. Should I tell her? Should I say something right now? But the thought of her face when she realized, I couldn't do it. Not yet. When I came back, he was scrolling through his phone like nothing had happened. He glanced up with that same nervous smile, but it didn't look nervous anymore. It looked calculated. Like he knew what I'd seen and was waiting to see what I'd do with it. The rest of the date was a blur. I barely touched my drink, barely answered his questions. He kept talking like he was on autopilot, but his eyes flicked toward me more often, sharp, like he was watching for cracks in my expression. When it finally ended, he offered to walk me to my car. I declined, heart pounding, and lied that my friend was picking me up. He paused just for a second too long before nodding. That pause was enough to tell me he knew I knew. I walked out of that bar feeling like the walls were closing in. Later that night, I went full detective. I checked his Tinder profile again, his photos, his bio. Everything was just vague enough to pass as some other guy. But now that I knew who he really was, I could see the little details. The same watch, the same way he styled his hair, even the same dog in the background of one of his pictures. He hadn't even tried to cover it up completely. The worst part was realizing how long he must have been doing it. To juggle a marriage, a fake Tinder name, and dates like mine? That doesn't happen overnight. He'd built entire lives in the same city, weaving them together so carefully that none of us noticed. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured my best friend sitting at home, smiling at him, completely clueless. And I pictured the photo on his lock screen, how he wasn't even hiding her, just carrying her face around while meeting other women. The next morning, I deleted Tinder. I couldn't stomach seeing his face pop up again under that fake name. I ignored his follow-up text, a casual, had fun last night. My hands shook just reading it. For days I wrestled with what to do. Part of me wanted to tell her everything, to drop the bomb and watch him crash. But another part of me felt trapped, like if I said anything, he'd know it was me who exposed him. And the way he looked at me in the bar. I didn't want to find out what he'd do if I crossed him. So I kept it quiet. For now. I still see him sometimes in the most normal places. Picking up groceries, parking outside the gym, holding hands with her at family get-togethers. And every time I feel sick. Because I know what he's capable of. I know there are probably other women out there sitting across from him in dim bars, thinking they've met some shy, normal guy. And I know deep down he saw the recognition in my face that night. He knows I know. It started out like every other late-night swipe session. I was lying in bed, one hand scrolling, the other half cradling my phone so it wouldn't smack me in the face if I nodded off. I wasn't really expecting much, mostly swiping out of boredom, half hoping, half knowing nothing worthwhile would come out of it. Then she popped up. Perfect hair. Perfect smile. The kind of photos that didn't look like they belonged to a normal person, but to someone who got paid to make people jealous. Sunset selfies, a shot in front of the Eiffel Tower, one of her holding a coffee cup in a way that looked rehearsed like an ad. Way out of my league. Still, my thumb went right without hesitation, almost automatic. I wasn't even thinking about it. She'd never match with me. Except she did. It's a match. For a second, my brain didn't even register it. Then, before I could screenshot it or even stare at her profile again, she messaged me. Almost instantly. "Want to grab a drink tonight?" No, hey. No awkward opener. No delay. Just straight to the point. Felt strange. But in the moment, I wasn't about to complain. We picked a bar I knew, busy enough that it didn't feel sketchy, quiet enough where we could actually talk. She suggested it, not me. That should have been my first red flag. But all I felt was adrenaline. I got there early, slid into a booth along the wall, and ordered a drink to take the edge off. I kept checking the door, running through different ways I could say hello. Shake hands? Play it cool? 10 minutes passed. Then 20. I texted her, "Hey, I'm here." No response. My drink was nearly gone, and I started to feel like an idiot sitting there alone. That's when the door opened again. But it wasn't her. A man walked in. Middle-aged, stocky. Work boots, jeans, a jacket that looked broken in. Short cropped hair. He scanned the room once, sharp and deliberate, then locked eyes with me. My stomach flipped like I'd swallowed ice water. He walked straight over, no hesitation, and slid into the booth across from me. His weight made the seat dip. He leaned forward on his elbows like he'd been invited. Before I could even ask what the hell he was doing, he spoke. "So you're the one messaging my daughter. Come, steady." Like it was the most normal sentence in the world. I froze. My throat went dry. Daughter? I stared at him, waiting for a grin, some clue that it was a joke. But his expression never shifted. His eyes locked on mine, steady and unblinking. My phone buzzed on the table. I glanced down, heart thudding. No new message from her. Just silence. He started firing questions at me. Rapid. No pauses. Where did we meet? How long had we been talking? What exactly did I say to her? His voice was low, almost monotone, but there was something underneath it. Oh wait. He wasn't just curious. He already knew the answers. He was waiting for me to trip up. I stammered through half explanations. It was just Tinder. She messaged me first. I don't even know her last name. He nodded slowly, fingers tapping on the table. That's when I noticed his phone. He kept it in his hand, screen up. At one point it lit up just for a second. I caught a glimpse of his wallpaper. Not a daughter. Not a young woman at all. It was a photo of a different woman. Older. Stern. Someone I didn't recognize. My chest tightened. None of this made sense. The bartender came by and asked if we wanted another round. I opened my mouth, desperate for the interruption, but the man shook his head without looking away from me. His stare pinned me to the booth. The walls felt closer. Then he leaned in. His voice dropped. "I've seen every message you sent her," he said. "Every picture. Every emoji. I've been watching the whole time." A chill ran through me so fast I felt dizzy. "She's not coming," he continued. His tone never changed. "Come. Certain. She was never going to come." That's when it hit me. There was no daughter. There was no girl. The perfect photos, the too eager invite, the silence after I showed up. It wasn't her. It had been him all along. I sat there, heart slamming against my ribs, unable to move. He finally leaned back, folding his arms. For the first time he smiled. Not warm. Not amused. Sure. Knowing. I muttered something, anything, about needing the bathroom. My legs felt like wet cement, but I slid out of the booth. He didn't stop me. Just nodded, eyes never leaving mine. I didn't go to the bathroom. I went straight out the back door into the alley, the night air hitting me like a slap. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone, lungs burning. I opened Tinder. Her profile, gone. Vanished. Like it had never existed. I didn't go back for my jacket. Didn't finish my drink. I just walked. Block after block until my legs ached and the bar was far behind me. That night I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face across that booth. Calm. Steady. Patient. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. A new Tinder notification. A new match. Same type of profile. Gorgeous girl. Professional photos. Short, inviting bio. My thumb hovered over the screen. My pulse thundered. I didn't open the chat. I didn't even think about it. I deleted the app, heart hammering, palms slick. But even now, weeks later, I can't shake the memory of that night. His voice. His stare. The part that keeps me awake isn't what he said. It's what he didn't do. Because when I walked out that door, he let me. I should have known the second he bragged about the rooftop. That was the selling point, really. His pictures looked like every other guy's, but he mentioned in his bio that he lived in a building with a private rooftop view of the city. I joked about it, and he immediately offered to show me. No hesitation. I figured it was harmless. When I got there, the lobby itself looked like a hotel. Polished marble floors, tall ceilings, security cameras in every corner. He met me by the elevators, dressed nice but casual, holding a bottle of wine and smiling like this was just another normal night. The elevator ride up felt endless. He kept making small talk, light jokes, and I laughed because I didn't feel nervous yet. Not until he pulled out a single silver key and slid it into the rooftop door. The second we stepped outside, the view hit me hard. The whole skyline was stretched out in front of us, glowing in neon and street lights. It was quiet, no one else around, just the faint hum of the city below. He led me over to a lounge chair, set the bottle down, and immediately locked the door again. I caught it out of the corner of my eye, him twisting the key, slipping it back into his pocket. He smiled like it was casual, like he was just making sure nobody came up to bother us. At first, I didn't think much of it. We poured drinks, laughed, took dumb selfies with the skyline behind us. He was funny, not too cocky, and the wine helped me loosen up. Every time I glanced at the door, though, I saw the glint of the key in his pocket. Always in his pocket. Hours passed fast. The bottle was almost gone, and I started to feel the cold wind bite through my jacket. I mentioned leaving, trying to keep my tone casual, like I wasn't already overthinking. He just smiled and poured me more, brushing it off like we had nowhere better to be. When I stood up and said I really should get going, he finally looked at me differently. Not angry, not upset. Just calm. Too calm. He leaned back, crossed his arms, and tapped the key in his pocket with his fingers. That's when the weight of it hit me. We weren't just hanging out anymore. I was locked on a rooftop 30 stories above the ground with someone I barely knew. The only way down was through that door. The only key was in his hand. I tried to laugh it off, asked again, more firmly this time, but he shook his head slowly, like he was in control of the whole night and I just hadn't realized it yet. My chest tightened. I backed away toward the edge of the railing, keeping distance, trying to think. There was no one else up there. No one to hear me if I screamed. The streets below were too far, just specks of headlights moving under us. The rooftop was wide open, but it felt like a cage. I needed him to open the door. That was the only way. So I forced a smile, sat back down, pretended to go along with it. My hands shook as I held the glass, trying not to show it. I kept the conversation light, asked him questions, let him talk about himself. Anything to make him comfortable enough to stop guarding that key. Minutes dragged into what felt like hours. My stomach churned, my mind running through every worst-case scenario. He reached for the bottle again, and for a second he pulled the key out with it like it had caught in his pocket. I locked my eyes on it, every muscle in my body ready to move. But he shoved it back before I could even breathe. The cold got worse. I wrapped my arms around myself, shivering, but he didn't care. He just kept talking, leaning closer, watching me in a way that made my skin crawl. I realized he wasn't going to let me down. Not unless he wanted to. Finally, I made a move. I told him I needed the bathroom. Said it lightly, like it was nothing, like I was too tipsy to care about his little locked door game. He hesitated, studied me for a long moment, then finally pulled the key from his pocket. He held it like he was daring me to snatch it, the metal catching the rooftop light. My heart hammered as he walked over and slid it into the lock. The click of it opening was the sweetest sound I've ever heard. I moved quickly, too quickly, slipping past him with a muttered excuse, my hand gripping the railing of the stairs like it was a lifeline. I didn't look back. I didn't wait for him to follow. I ran down the stairwell, my shoes slapping against the concrete, my breath loud in my ears. I didn't stop until I burst into the lobby and out onto the street, gulping in the night air like I'd been drowning. When I finally checked my phone, I saw his message already waiting. Just 5 words. You left too early. The next morning, his Tinder profile was gone. Like it had never existed. But I can still feel the weight of that locked door behind me, the sound of the key sliding into the lock, the calm look on his face when he realized I couldn't leave without him. I thought I'd hit the jackpot when we matched. Her profile was unreal, gallery shots of her at art exhibits, traveling to places I couldn't even name, captions that made her sound witty but not try hard. I half expected her to unmatch me within an hour. Instead, she replied fast, smooth, like she'd been waiting. She suggested dinner right away. No back and forth, no, maybe next week. Just straight up, let's grab food. I hesitated, but when someone like that makes the first move, you don't question it too much. The restaurant she picked wasn't cheap. Dim lighting, soft music, the kind of place where the servers wear pressed shirts and know the wine list by heart. She was already at the table when I walked in, stunning in a way that made the whole room feel smaller. When I offered to cover the bill, she shook her head instantly, said we'd split it. That put me at ease, honestly. We ordered drinks, laughed through appetizers, shared bites of each other's meals like we'd known each other for more than a couple hours. She was sharp, asking about my favorite books, places I wanted to travel, music I grew up with. She had an answer for everything, always just a little more refined, a little more worldly, like she was ahead of me in every way. By the second round of drinks, I felt relaxed, maybe too relaxed. Warm, comfortable, not even thinking about how fast the night was moving. I remember looking at her across the table, her eyes locked on mine, the kind of look that makes your chest tighten. Then my vision blurred. It wasn't just tipsy. I'd been drunk before, this wasn't that. My eyelids felt heavy, my tongue thick, the room spinning harder than 2 drinks should have caused. She leaned across the table, close enough that her perfume filled my head, and whispered something I'll never forget. Don't worry, this won't hurt. After that, nothing. When I came to, the first thing I noticed was the cold. A deep, bone-cutting cold that wrapped around me like ice. I opened my eyes, disoriented, and realized I wasn't in my bed. I wasn't even in a bed. I was in a bathtub. A bathtub filled with ice. Panic shot through me so hard I nearly blacked out again. I tried to sit up, but my body felt weak, sluggish, like my limbs weren't fully connected to me. I gasped, my teeth chattering, and that's when I saw it. A line of stitches across my side. Rough, uneven, red around the edges. My stomach dropped and I gagged, bile rising in my throat. The bathroom wasn't mine. Dingy yellow tiles, cracked mirror, towels that didn't belong to me. I forced myself out of the tub, ice crashing to the floor, my bare feet slipping on the wet tiles. My clothes were gone. In their place was a thin hospital gown, tied lazily at the back. I stumbled into the hallway, dizzy, clutching my side. The apartment smelled stale, like cigarettes and bleach. The furniture was mismatched, blinds half broken, dishes piled high in the sink. Every step echoed too loud in my head. On the coffee table sat my wallet, open. My ID was missing. My cards too. Next to it, my phone powered off. I grabbed it with shaking hands, turned it on, praying it would work. The screen lit up, but the battery was almost dead. No new messages, no calls, just silence. I checked the time. Hours had passed since dinner. I wanted to scream, but my throat was dry, my voice barely more than a rasp. I staggered toward the front door. Locked. Chain bolted. I fumbled with it, my fingers clumsy, every sound amplified by the silence. Behind me, I thought I heard something. A creak of floorboards. A door closing softly. I froze, heart hammering against my ribs, every nerve screaming at me to run. I finally got the lock undone and stumbled out into the hallway. The apartment building was old, dimly lit, walls stained with years of grime. I didn't stop to figure out where I was. I just ran. Down the stairs, out onto the street, barefoot, clutching my side. The night air hit me like a slap. I flagged down the first car I saw, a beat-up sedan with a driver who looked more shocked than I did. He rolled down the window, eyes wide, and I begged him to take me anywhere safe. The hospital confirmed what I already knew. Surgery. Someone had cut into me. My kidney was gone. I told the cops everything, the dinner, the drinks, the rooftop perfume, the whisper. They took notes, asked questions, but I could see it in their eyes. I wasn't the first. Probably not the last. Her Tinder profile. Deleted. Like she'd never existed. Now, every time I see someone swipe on their phone at a bar, smiling at a stranger's face, my stomach twists. I can still feel the ice burning into my skin, the stitches pulling tight when I breathe. And that voice. The way she leaned in so close I could feel her breath on my ear. Don't worry, this won't hurt. She was wrong.